the Rangers Journal Night.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Journal, our pre-match thoughts on what is the final Old Firm game of the season at Ibrox, which kicks off in just under an hour's time. I'm joined today by Billy. How are you doing today, Billy? You looking forward to the game?
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's your brain's split in two. It doesn't really mean anything, but you still really want to win. So yeah, a bit of both.
Yeah, and Dino, welcome. Been a while since I've hosted. How you been? And are you looking forward to the game today?
I'm good, thanks. And no, I'm not.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Straight to the point. So the team sheet's not long been released. Billy, I'll come to you first. Is there any real surprises in that team? We've got Kelly and Nets, a back four, it looks like, of Cav, Suter, Balogun and Yefty, midfield of Barron, Raskin, Diomande, and then, well, I suppose, a front three of Cherney, Bajrami and Dessers. Anything that sprung out, that jumped out at you there, Billy?
I mean, I think there's a few fans would like to have seen maybe Iggerman getting a start, instead of Dessers, and see what he can do. I mean, if you're Barry, it kind of worked last time, bringing Iggerman on, and you got the winner and everything. But I think a lot of people would have liked to see him get a start. Interesting to see Bajrami in, because he really has flattered to deceive. He looked like a player when he came in, but he just doesn't turn up a lot of the time, doesn't maybe cover enough ground. But again, he saved a lot of his best performances for Europe or against Celtic. So I can kind of see the logic. I think one of the things that kind of stands out is just like how Barry's come in with all these good intentions. And I think he's done a reasonable job for the situation he was handed, but he's kind of gradually been ground down to doing what previous managers have done in terms of, we're not actually seeing that many youth players come in. Bailey Rice is in and out of the team. Finlay Curtis isn't even on the bench today. So I think he did say earlier in the week that, players had to look good enough in training to get into the squad, to get into the team, which is very much the Walter way. You don't get on the bench just for being in the 23 men. You have to earn a place in the bench. And it's a wee bit disappointing, but not that surprising to see that really the youth team players don't seem to be forcing their way in at this stage of the season. So yeah, Bajrami for me was a wee bit of a surprise. I might have expected to see Hadji in. It would have been nice to see Iggerman start, but I think the defence and midfield, maybe a wee bit surprised to see Barron in, but happy enough actually. But looking at the team, I did maybe had Iggerman in, but apart from that, I don't see what else he could have done really.
Yeah, I think, as I say, the team really picked itself. Bajrami coming in is a little bit of a surprise, but I think in previous games he's been used to really nullify McGregor, and he's done a good job on that. He's obviously their out ball. What was your thinking on the team, Dean? Anything surprising for you?
I probably would have started Insiala and had Balogun on the bench, just due to the fact that he's only made one training session since his injury. So it was quite a physical game. I would kind of want to wrap him a bit more and bring him on maybe second half. However, I understand the decision to put him in at the same time because he's probably our best defender. So it's a catch-22, isn't it? But I think the team selection kind of epitomises why Barry's not going to be here next season, in my opinion. Now, I appreciate it's all fair and well and what you've got to do in training and stuff, but I mean, Iggerman's confidence scoring that winner in the last Old Firm game would actually, in my opinion, would show today. And playing a man up top who needs 11 chances to put one away is what it is. I thought Iggerman would have been a nailed-on starter, given he scored such an emphatic winner and probably potential for goalie of the season. So that give any centre forward massive confidence coming into such a big game like this. Although the league's done, as we just alluded to, we always want to get one over our rivals, don't we?
Yeah, most definitely, Dean. And I'll come at you on that one, Billy. It's a bit of a strange one where we could potentially win 3 Old Firm games in the league this season and not go on to win the league. Does that say something more about the mentality of the players, or what do you think the reasoning is behind that? We've turned up in the Old Firm games this season, apart from the very first one. We've had the cup final. We probably should have won, and then we've won the 2 games since then. But our form coming into these games has been terrible, and then we just seem to flick a switch and turn up. What do you think's behind that?
Well, you thought you said you wanted to keep this to 20 minutes. That's a good couple of hours, that is. I mean, there's a couple of things I think it's like if you look at the squad, the recruitment hasn't been good enough. It's been kind of scattergun, and lots of things that hopefully the 49ers and Thelwell will address. Also, I hate saying this, but eventually the evidence sort of forces you to conclude that we have enough sort of like players who haven't got either the skill set or the mentality, and we've ended up with like a team who've got the mentality of a St Mirren or a Motherwell. We turn up in the big games, we find an extra 5 or 10% the way St Mirren or Motherwell do when they play us. And it's cool when you turn up in Europe and you end up beating someone you don't think you're going to, but then gradually you realise that actually this is not a team that was ever going to win a league, and we have got sort of the wrong mentality. We've got the mentality, that's the difference between an average player and a really good player, is someone that they don't need to go rooting around for that 5 or 10%. Like when they're playing a big team, they just produce it every week. So that's kind of disappointing. One of the things I would say is it's not a big deal, but today's game could actually set a wee bit of a narrative landmine for next season for Brendan Rodgers, because Celtic fans are, as we know, all mental, and the fact that they haven't won a couple of Old Firm games, they're gumming about that. If they were to go 3 games without like an Old Firm win, and they should have lost the League Cup final but for like horrendous refereeing, then he goes into the first game of next season against a new manager. It could be level in points if we're lucky. Could be a couple of points ahead, and he's actually the one that's got the you haven't won in 3 games narrative. And I know it's clutching at straws just now, but in terms of something for next season, it would be nice actually, because they will bump their gums about this. At the end of the day, I would rather be in their position than ours. I'd rather have lost the Old Firm games and be miles ahead. But I do think, as we've seen with Brendan Rodgers, he's very fragile. So I think him having that hanging over his head at the start of next season, I think he would stew on it over the summer. And I think it would be just something that could be interesting next season. So, at the end of the day, like I share some of Dino's fears about today, because I think Celtic will want to put a marker down as champions. And, I think McGregor will want to show he can actually get the better of Bajrami in this situation. But I'd like to see us do it, because I do think that there's a wee bit of potential for next season, this setting a narrative. And I'm a big believer in Scotland in particular, that league seasons are often won on momentum. So you can start with a better squad and a better side, but we saw that in the 55 season. A couple of breaks go our way and suddenly you've got a head of steam up. So yeah, I would say that's my hope for today, that maybe it sets a narrative for next season, and everything's going to be great next season, as we know.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on that point, I wouldn't say it was ever a meaningless Old Firm game. You want to win, you want to get one up over your rivals. This one feels a little bit sort of strange, whereas in the last couple of seasons, we've sort of had managers who have come in, halfway through the season, and we've been behind, and we've said, right, let's use this as a bit of a marker for next season. Going into next season, it's more than likely we'll have a new management team. It won't be Barry Ferguson and the coaching staff. A lot of the players, I would imagine, will be gone. So is that putting a marker down for next season something that we're looking at today, or is it just a one-off game, bit of bragging rights to go into the summer with, even though, we've ended up trophyless?
I think you can look at it from both sides of the coin there. can't you? But I think the one thing that we need to remember is that a lot of the players that are playing today won't be here next season, but which is quite sad because we should be using this as a game that players are going to be playing in for next season, in my opinion. Do you know? And it's just sad that we're not. So, I mean, do these players want to have one last mini high of, beating Celtic, millions of people watching the game type thing? They want to put themselves in the shop window for potential moves in the summer, things like that. So, a good performance against Celtic can maybe go a long way to help securing a summer move. But it's all dependent on the team that turns up. And if we win today, then brilliant. We can, that's again momentum against them. But we've not won. I don't think there's ever been a team that's won 3 Old Firm games. That's got beaten in 3 Old Firm games that's went on to win the league. So it would be a wee record for us to actually have this season. And going into the summer, the sporting directors in place, managers probably in place, we just don't know yet. And yeah, having that momentum, because let's be honest, we'll probably win today, but maybe the remaining games against the other side. So these players only want to turn up against Celtic in the big games. So yeah, I think you'll see potentially players actually performing like we did last game.
Yeah, and just going back to sort of the starting lineup again, no sort of Jack Butland, Billy. Again, we're going to have a new management team in the summer, but does that say to you that maybe his time is nearing an end with us? He's obviously been out of the picture now for a good number of weeks, and doesn't look like getting back in. Not that Liam Kelly's really done anything to deserve to be dropped, but when you think that Butland was our probably biggest asset back in January of last season, do you think this could be the, come the summer, you'll be getting moved on?
If we get a decent bid for him, what I would say is Liam Kelly hasn't done much wrong, but he was a very lucky boy against St Mirren not to end up in the exact same position as Jack Butland. He almost shipped 2 goals, and one of them, really, the St Mirren striker missed an absolute sitter in my opinion. So I think Liam Kelly's actually been lucky, and maybe that's the difference. At this stage of the season, Jack Butland, if he'd kicked the ball at a St Mirren striker, you knew it was getting buried. I think they needed to drop Butland for a couple of reasons. One, it was actually just bad for the team. He wasn't worth his place. He was shipping a goal a game. But I actually think it was necessary for Jack Butland as well. I think he needed a reset. I think he needed to get taken out, working his game a bit, not be sort of in the spotlight. And I think in terms of Jack Butland's future and our ability to sell him, I think taking him out, what was the option? I mean, he kept him in. Clearly, these were not random mistakes. These were mistakes being born of knowing he was in bad form and knowing he was throwing them in, and it was eating away at him. You could see it. Some of the mistakes really, you would not be happy seeing that in a Park game. So I don't see what alternative there was. I think for the good of Jack Butland, he needed taken out for a slightly prolonged period, and he can have a reset over the summer. And I think that's our best chance of selling him. I think most Rangers fans, a year ago, would have been bridling at the thought of selling him for less than 10 million. I think a lot of fans now, if we got offered 5 million, someone wants to pick him up as a second or third choice keeper, would actually probably be happy enough to just shake hands and say, good luck. So I think taking him out gives us the best chance of punting him at some point. And every week he went in, I mean, you left him in the team throwing a goal a weekend. Who's going to buy him? So I don't really see what the alternative was, but I do think Liam Kelly was very lucky against St Mirren, because he could have shipped 2 goals, and then we'd all be talking about how we don't have a first or second choice keeper worth putting in the team. So one other thing actually in the lineup that I'd forgot to mention was it was really good to see Casemiro back in, because his recovery, I mean, everything about this guy's development before he got injured was going in the right direction. The club must be happy enough with him that they kept him for his rehabilitation rather than send him back to the parent club. And the fact that he's back on the bench, he must be showing hunger in training. He must be, but whether he gets on or whether it's, just to give him a bit of encouragement, that's going to be a difficult decision in the summer. I think if we can get him on an option to buy, definitely. We can't go down the Cortez route, but I really liked what I saw of him. I'm delighted that he's got back before the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously made an appearance for the B team in the Glasgow final the other night, and obviously got a goal as well. So 45 minutes, like you say, it's been a remarkable recovery when they didn't think he was going to play again this season. So definitely agree with you on that point. It's good to see him back. And just real sort of final point, Dean, before we come to summing up. I was reading this morning Barry Ferguson's Ibrox home record since being the manager currently sits at 5 games, 1 draw, 4 defeats, one goal, 6 conceded. How do you see that change? How does he change that today? How does he get that win and obviously goals? What do you want to see today?
Well, he could have started by having a different starting 11. Right away, he's against it with that starting 11, in my opinion. And I think obviously the players have got a lot to answer for. Liam Kelly made a point that players weren't listening to the instructions. So you've got to think that he's drilled that into them today, that they're going to listen to instructions. So the players have to get it right in the park because he's picked the team. So we've got to hope with the cards that we've been dealt with that the players have listened and they're taking on everything that he said. And we just have to hope that we can get a result. But given you just those stats, it's quite that's quite frightening stats that. So it doesn't give you much optimism for today. 1 goal, that's horrific, absolutely horrific.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. But
against the champions who will be on an almighty high.
Yeah,
aye, that's a recipe for disaster, that, isn't it?
So then, Dean, you're obviously not in confident mood today. So no. What's your prediction? What's your prediction for the game then? Scorers.
3-0 then.
Okay. Fair enough. Can't argue with that. Billy, bring some sense to this. It's a nice sunny day. It's a bank holiday weekend. Give us some optimism, Billy. Come on. What are you saying?
I'm hoping that we can do that thing of like ceding possession, like really harassing them far up the pitch and clamping McGregor. I still share a lot of Dino's concerns, but I could see like a score and draw, like a 2-2 or a 3-3. That might be the best we get today. But I'll go 3-3. What the hell?
Good entertaining game then, especially for the neutral. Thank you, Billy. And I'm going to go really good. I'm going to go a 2-0 win with Dessers getting both the goals. And
you think we're going to get 2 chances?
I've not been drinking or anything yet, so it's a prediction that's come from a sane place. So but thank you very much for joining us today, boys. It's appreciated, and everyone who's got involved in the comments. Wherever you're watching the game, I hope you enjoy it and I hope it goes our way. And remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night.